while the illustrious Pandavas were seated in that Sabha along with the principal Gandhirvas, there came unto that assembly the celestial rish Narada, conversant with the Vedas and Upanishads, worshipped by the celestials, acquainted with histories and Puranas, well versed in all that occurred in ancient kalpas, conversant with Nyaya and the truth of moral science, possessing a complete knowledge of the 6 angas. He was a perfect master in reconciling contradictory texts and differentiating in applying general principles to particular cases, in interpreting contraries by reference to differences in situation, eloquent, resolute, intelligent, possessed of powerful memory. He was acquainted with the science of morals and politics, learned, proficient in distinguishing inferior things from superior ones, skilled in drawing inference from evidence, competent to judge of the correctness or incorrectness of syllogistic statements consisting of 5 propositions. He was capable of answering successively Virihaspati himself, while arguing with definitive conclusions properly framed about religion, wealth, pleasure, and salvation, of great soul, and beholding this whole universe, above, below, and around, as if it were present before his eyes. He was master of both the Sankhya and the Yoga systems of philosophy, ever desirous of humbling the celestials and asuras by fomenting quarrels among them, conversant with the science of war and treat, proficient in drawing conclusions by judging of things not within direct ken, in the 6 science of treat, war, military campaigns, maintenance of posts against the enemy, and stratagems by ambuscades and reserves. He was Trog, master of every branch of learning, fond of war and music, incapable of being repulsed by any science or any course of action, and possessed of these and numberless other accomplishments. Drish, having wandered over the different worlds, came into that Sabha, and the celestial rish of immeasurably splendor, endowed with great energy, was accompanied by Parijata, and the intelligent Haivata, and Saumya, and Sumukhiha, possessing the speed of the mind. Drish came thither, and was filled with gladness upon beholding the Pandavas. The Brahmana, on arriving there, paid homage unto Yudhishthira by uttering blessings on him and wishing him victory. Beholding the learned Rish arrive, the heirs of the Pandavas, conversant with all rules of duty, quickly stood up with his younger brothers. Bending low with humility, the monarch cheerfully saluted Rish and gave with due ceremonies a befitting seat unto him. The king gave him kine and the usual offerings of the Arghya, including honey and the other ingredients. Conversant with every duty, the monarch worshipped Rish with jams and jewels with a whole heart. Receiving that worship from Yudhishthira in proper form, the Rish became gratified, thus worshipped by the Pandavas and the great Rish. Narada, possessing a complete mastery over the Vedas, said unto Yudhishthira the following words bearing upon religion, wealth, pleasures, and salvation. Narada said, "Is the wealth thou art earning being spent on proper objects? Doth thy mind take pleasure in virtue? Art thou enjoying the pleasures of life? Doth not thy mind sink under their weight? Chief of men, continuest thou in the noble conduct consistent with religion and wealth, practiced by the ancestors towards the 3 classes of subjects? Never injurest thou religion for the sake of wealth, or both, religion and wealth, for the sake of pleasure that easily seduces. Thou foremost of victorious men, ever devoted to the good of all, conversant as thou art with the timeliness of everything, followest thou religion, wealth, pleasure, and salvation, dividing thy time judiciously, sinless on with the 6 attributes of kings. Dost thou attend to the 7 means? Examinest thou, after a survey of thy own strength and weakness, the 14 possessions of thy foes? These are the country, forts, cars, elephants, cavalry, foot soldiers, the principal officers of state, the zenana, food supply, computations of the arm and income, the religions treatises in force, the accounts of state, the revenue, wine shops, and other secret enemies. Attendest thou the 8 occupations? Having examined, thou foremost of victorious monarchs, thy own and thy enemies' means, and having made peace with thy enemies, bull of the Mahabharata race, thy 7 principal officers of state, have not, I hope, succumbed to the influence of thy foes, nor have they, I hope, become idly in consequence of the wealth they have earned. They are, I hope, obedient to thee. Thy counsels, I hope, are never divulged by thy trusted spies in disguise, by thyself or thy ministers. Thou ascertainest, I hope, what thy friends, foes, and strangers are about. Makest thou peace and makest thou war at proper times. Observest thou neutrality towards strangers and persons that are neutral towards thee. Hast thou made persons like thyself, persons that are old, continent in behavior, capable of understanding what should be done and what should not, poor as regards birth and blood, and devoted to thee, thy ministers? The victories of kings can be attributed to good counsels. Is thy kingdom protected by ministers learned in sastras, keeping their counsels close? Are thy foes unable to injure it? Thou hast not become the slave of sleep. Wakest thou at the proper time, conversant with pursuits yielding profit? Thinkest thou, during the small hours of night, to what thou shouldst do and what thou shouldst not do the next day? Thou settlest nothing alone, nor takest counsels with many. The counsels thou hast resolved upon do not become known all over thy kingdom. Commencest thou soon to accomplish mysteries of great utility, that are easy of accomplishment. Such mysteries are never obstructed. Keepest thou the agriculturist not out of thy sight? They do not fear to approach thee. Achievest thou thy mysteries through persons that are trusted incorruptibly and possessed of practical experience? And, brave king, I hope people all know the mysteries already accomplished by thee, and those that have been partially accomplished and are awaiting completion, but not those that are only in contemplation and uncommenced. Have experienced teachers capable of explaining the causes of things and learned in the science of morals in every branch of learning, being appointed to instruct the prince and the chiefs of the army. Buoyest thou a single learned man by giving in exchange 1,000 ignorant individuals? The man that is learned conferreth the greatest benefit in seasons of distress. Are thy thoughts always filled with treasury, food, weapons, water, and guineas, and instruments, with engineers and bowmen? Even a single minister that is intelligent, brave, with his passions under complete control. and possessed of wisdom and judgment, is capable of conferring the high prosperity on a king or a king's son. I ask thee, therefore, whether there is even one such minister with thee. Seekest thou to know everything about the 18 house of the four, and 15 of thy own by means of 3, and 3 spies are unacquainted with one another? Is layer of our foes, watchest thou all thy enemies with care and attention, and unknown to them? Is the priest thou honorest, possessed of humility, and purity of blood, and hinau, and without jealousy and illiberality? Have in well behaved, intelligent, and guileless Brahmana, well up in the ordinance, being employed by thee in the performance of thy daily rites before the sacred fire, and doth he remind thee in proper time as to when thy homa should be performed? Is the astrologer thou hast employed skilled in reading physiognomy, capable of interpreting omens, and competent to neutralize the effect of the disturbance of nature? Have respectable servants been employed by thee in offices that are respectable, indifferent ones in indifferent offices, and low ones in offices that are low? Hast thou appointed to high offices ministers that are guileless and of well conduct for generations, and above the common run? Oppressest thou not thy people with cruel and severe punishment? Bull of the Mahabharata race, do thy ministers rule thy kingdom under thy orders? Do thy ministers ever select thee like sacrificial priests, selecting men that are fallen, or like wives selecting husbands that are proud and incontinent in their behavior? Is the commander of thy forces possessed of sufficient confidence, brave, intelligent, patient, well conducted, of good birth, devoted to thee, and competent? Treatest thou with consideration and regard the chief officers of thy arm, that are skilled in every kind of warfare, are forward, well behaved, and endowed with prowess? Givest thou to thy troops their sanctioned rations, and pay in the appointment time? Thou dost not oppress them by withholding these. Knowest thou that the misery caused by arrears of pay and irregularity in the distribution of rations driveth the troops to mutiny, and that is called by the learned to be one of the greatest of mischiefs? Are all the principal high-born men devoted to thee, and ready with cheerfulness to lay down their lives in battle for thy sake? I hope no single individual of passions uncontrolled is ever permitted by thee to rule as he likes a number of concerns at the same time appertaining to the army. Is any servant of thine, who hath accomplished well a particular business by the employment of special ability, disappointed in obtaining from thee a little more regard and an increase of food and pay? I hope thou rewardest persons of learning and humility, and skill in every kind of knowledge with gifts of wealth and honor proportionate to their qualifications. Dost thou support, both in the Mahabharata race, the wives and children of men that have given their lives for thee and have been distressed on thy account? Cherished thou, son of Pritha, with paternal affection, the foe that have been weakened, or him also that have sought thy shelter, having been vanquished in battle? Lord of earth, art thou equal unto all men, and can every one approach thee without fear, as if thou wert their mother and father? Bull of the Mahabharata race, marchest thou without loss of time, and reflecting well upon three kinds of forces. Against thy foe, when thou hearest that he is in distress. Subjugator of our foes, beginnest thou thy march when the time cometh, having taken into consideration all the omens you might see, the resolutions thou hast made, and that the ultimate victory depends upon the 12 mandalas. Persecutor of our foes, givest thou gems and jewels unto the principal officers of enemy, as they deserve, without thy enemies' knowledge. Son of Pritha, seekest thou to conquer thy insensate foes that are slaves to their passions, having first conquered thy own soul and obtained the mastery over thy own senses. Before thou marchest out against thy foes, dost thou properly employ the 4 arts of reconciliation, gift, producing disunion, and application of force? Goest thou out against thy enemies, having first strengthened thy own kingdom? Having gone out against them, exertest thou to obtain victory over them, and having conquered them, seekest thou to protect them with care. Are thy arm consisting of 4 kinds of forces, the regular troops, the allies, the mercenaries, and the irregulars, each furnished with the 8 ingredients: cars, elephants, horses, officers, infantry, camp followers, spies, possessing trog, knowledge of the country, and insignias led out against thy enemies after having been well trained by superior officers. I hope thou slayest thy foes without regarding their seasons of heaping and famine. I hope thy servants and agents in thy own kingdom and in the kingdoms of thy foes continue to look after their respective duties and to protect one another. I hope trusted servants have been employed by thee to look after thy food, the robes thou wearest, and the perfumes thou usest. I hope thy treasury, barns, stables, arsenals, and women apartments are all protected by servants, devoted to thee and ever seeking thy welfare. I hope thou protectest first thyself from thy domestic and public servants, then from those servants of thy relatives, and from one another. Do thy servants ever speak to thee in the forenoon regarding thy extravagant expenditure in respect of thy drinks, sports, and women? Is thy expenditure always covered by 1/4, a third, or a half of thy income? Cherisheth thou always with food and wealth, relatives, superiors, merchants, the aged and other proteges, and the distressed? Do the accountants and clerks employed by thee in looking after thy income and expenditure always appraise thee every day in the forenoon of thy income and expenditure? Dismissest thou without fault servants accomplished in business and popular and devoted to thy welfare? Dost thou employ superior, indifferent, and low men, after examining them when in office they deserve? Employest thou in thy business persons that are thievish, or open to temptation, or hostile, or minors? Persecutest thou thy kingdom by the help of thievish, or covetous men, or minors, or women? Are the agriculturists in thy kingdom contented? Are large tanks and lakes constructed all over thy kingdom at proper distance, without agriculture being in thy realm entirely dependent on the showers of heaven? Are the agriculturists in thy kingdom wanting in either seed or food? Grantest thou with kindness loans unto the tillers, taking on a 1/4 in excess of every measure by the 100? are the four professions of agriculture, trade, cattle rearing, and lending at interest, carried on by honest men. Upon these depends the happiness of thy people. Do the 5 brave and wise men employed in the 5 offices of protecting the city, the citadel, the merchants, and the agriculturists, and punishing the criminals, always benefit thy kingdom by working in union with one another? For the protection of thy city, have the villages been made like towns, and the hamlets and outskirts of villages like villages? Are all these entirely under thy supervision and sway? Are thieves and robbers that sack thy town pursued by thy police over the even and uneven parts of thy kingdom? Consolest thou woman, and are they protected in thy realm? I hope thou placest not any confidence in them, nor divulgest any secret before any of them. Having heard of any danger, and having reflected on it, liest thou in the inner apartments, enjoying every agreeable object. Having slept during the 2nd and the 3rd divisions of the night, thinkest thou of religion and profit in the 4th division wakefully, rising from bed at the proper time and dressing thyself well, showest thou thyself to thy people, accompanied by ministers, conversant with the auspicious or otherwise of moment? Do men dressed in head and armed with swords and adorned with ornaments stand by thy side to protect thy persons? Behavest thou like the God of justice himself unto those that deserve punishment and those that deserve worship, unto those that are dear to thee and those that thou likest not? Seekest thou to cure bodily disease by medicines and fasts, and mental illness with the advice of the aged? I hope that the physicians engaged in looking after thy health are all well conversant with the 8 kinds of treatment, and are all attached and devoted to thee. Happeneth it ever that from covetousness or folly or pride thou failest to decide between the plaintiff and the defendant who have come to thee? Deprivest thou, through covetousness or folly, of their pensions the proteges who have sought thy shelter from trustfulness or love? Do the people that inhabit thy realm, balked by thy foes, ever seek to raise disputes with thee, uniting themselves with one another? Are those amongst thy foes that are feebly always repressed by the help of troops, that are strong by the help of both councils and troops? Are all the principal chieftains all devoted to thee? Are they ready to lay down their lives for thy sake, commanded by thee? Dost thou worship Brahmanas and wise men according to their merits in respect of various branches of learning? I tell thee, such worship is without doubt highly beneficial to thee. Hast thou faith in the religion based on the 3 Vedas and practiced by men who have gone before thee? Dost thou carefully follow the practices that were followed by them? Are accomplished Brahmanas entertained in thy house and in thy presence with nutritive and excellent food, and do they obtain pecuniary gifts at the conclusion of those feasts? Dost thou, with passions under complete control and with singleness of mind, strive to perform the sacrifices called Vajapeya and Pundarika, with their full complement of rites? Bowest thou unto thy relatives and superiors, the aged, the gods, the ascetics, the Brahmanas, and the tall trees in villages? that are of so much benefit to people. Causest thou ever grief or anger in any one? Do priests, capable of granting thee auspicious fruits, ever stand by thy side? Are thy inclinations and practices such as I have described them, and always enhance the duration of life, and spread on now, and always help the cause of religion, pleasure, and profit? He who conducteth himself according to this way never findeth his kingdom distressed or afflicted, and that monarch, subjugating the whole earth, enjoyeth a high degree of felicity. I hope no well-behaved, poor-souled, and respected person is ever ruined and his life taken, on a false charge or theft, by thy ministers, ignorant of sastras and acting from greed. But among men, I hope thy ministers never from covetousness set free a real thief, knowing him to be such and having apprehended him with the boot about him. I hope thy ministers are never won over by bribes, nor do they wrongly decide the disputes that rise between the rich and the poor. Dost thou keep thyself free from the faulting vices of kings, atheism, untruthfulness, anger, incalciousness, procrastination, non-visity to the eyes, idleness, hastiness of mind, taking counsels with on men, consultation with persons unacquainted with the science of prophecy, abandonment of a settled plan, diversions of counsels, non-accomplishment of beneficial projects, and undertaking everything without reflection. But these, even monarchs firmly seated on their thrones, are ruined. Have thy stood of the Vedas, thy wealth and knowledge of the Shastras and marriage been fruitful? After the rich had finished, Yudhishthira asked, how rich do the Vedas, wealth, wife, and knowledge of the Shastras bear fruit? The rich answered, the Vedas are said to bear fruit when he that hath studied them performeth the Agnihotra and other sacrifices. Wealth is said to bear fruit when he that hath it enjoyeth it himself and giveth it away in charity. A wife is said to bear fruit when she is useful and when she beareth children. Knowledge of the Shastras is said to bear fruit when it resulteth in humility and good behavior. The great ascetic Narada, having answered Yudhishthira thus, again asked that just ruler, do the officers of thy government, king, that are paid from the taxes levied on the community, take on their just dues from the merchants that come to thy territories from distant lands, impelled by the desire of gain? Are the merchants treated with consideration in thy capital and kingdom, capable of bringing their goods thither without being deceived by the false pretext? Listenest thou always to the words fraught with instructions in religion and wealth of old men acquainted with economic doctrines? Are gifts of honey and clarified butter made to the Brahmanas intended for the increase of agricultural produce, of kind, of fruits and flowers, and for the sake of virtue? Givest thou always, regularly, unto all the artisans and artists employed by thee the materials of their works and their wages, for periods not more than 4 months? Examinest thou the works executed by those that are employed by thee, and applaudest thou them before good men, and heardest thou them, having shown them proper respect. Bull of the Mahabharata haze, followers thou the aphorism in respect of every concern, particular those relating to elephants, horses, and cars, are the aphorisms relating to the science of arms, as also those that relate to the practice of engines in warfare, so useful to towns and fortified places, studied in thy court. Art thou acquainted with our mysterious incantations, and with the secrets of poisons destructive of our foes? Protectest thou thy kingdom from the fear of fire, of snakes and other animals destructive of life, of disease and hazards? As acquainted thou art with every duty, cherishest thou like a father the blind, the dumb, the lame, the deformed, the friendless, and ascetics that have no homes. Hast thou banished these 6 evils? Sleep, idleness, fear, anger, weakness of mind, and procrastination. The illustrious bull among the Kurus, having heard these words of that best of Brahmanas, bowed down unto him and worshipped his feet. And gratified with everything he heard, the monarch said unto Narada, of celestial form, I shall do all that thou hast directed, for my knowledge hath expanded under thy advice. Having said this, the king acted conformably to that advice, and gained in time the whole earth, bounded by her belt of seas. Narada again spoke, saying, that king who is thus employed in the protection of 4 orders, Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, Sudras, passeth his days he happily, and attaineth he after to the region of Sukra. At the conclusion of Narada's words, King Yudhishthira, the just, worshipped him duly, and commanded by him, the monarch began to reply succinctly to the questions of the Rish had asked. Yudhishthira said, hold on, the truth of religion and morality thou hast indicated one after another are just and proper. As regards myself, I do observe those ordinances to the best of my power. Indeed, the acts that were properly performed by monarchs of yore are, without doubt, to be regarded as bearing proper fruit, and undertaken for solid reasons, for the attainment of proper objects. We desire to walk in the virtuous path of those rulers that had, besides, their souls under complete control. Yudhishthira, the son of Pandu, possessed of great glory, having received with reverence the words of Narada, and having answered Drish thus, reflected for a moment, and perceiving a proper opportunity, seated beside Drish, asked Narada, sitting at his ease, and capable of going into every word at will, in the presence of that assembly of kings, saying, possessed of the speed of mind, thou wanderest over various and many worlds created in days of yore by Brahma, beholding everything. Tell me, I ask thee, if thou hast ever beheld before anywhere an assembly room like this of mine, or superior to it? Hearing these words of Yudhishthira, the just, Narada smiling, answered the son of Pandu in this sweet accent. I did neither see nor hear of ever before amongst men an assembly room built of gems and precious stones like these of thine. I shall, however, describe unto thee the rooms of the king of the departed, of Varuna, of great intelligence, of Indra, the king of gods, and of him who hath his home in Kailasha. I shall describe unto thee the celestial Sabha of Brahma that dispelleth every kind of uneasiness. All these assembly rooms exhibit in their structure both celestial and human designs, and present every kind of form that exists in the universe. And they are ever worshipped by the gods and the Pitris, Sadhiyas, by ascetic offerings, sacrifice, with souls under complete command, by peaceful munis, engaged without intermission in Vedic sacrifice, with presents to Brahmanas. I shall describe all these to you, if thou hast any inclinations to listen to me. Thus addressed by Narada, the high-souled King Yudhishthira, the just, with his brothers, and all those foremost of Brahmanas, joined his hands. And the monarch then asked Narada, saying, Describe unto us all those assembly rooms, we desire to listen to thee. What are the articles with which each of the sabhas are made of? What is the area of each, and what is the length and breadth of each? Who wait upon the Grand Tsar in that assembly room? And who upon Vasava, the Lord of the Celestials, and upon Yama, the son of Vivasvana? Who wait upon Varuna, and upon Kuvera, in their respective assembly rooms? Tell us all about this. We all together desire to hear thee describe them. Indeed, our curiosity is great. Thus addressed by the son of Pandu, Narada replied, saying, Hear ye all about those celestial assembly rooms, one after another. The celestial assembly room of Sakra is full of lustre. He hath obtained it as the fruit of his own acts. Possessed of the splendor of the sun, it was built, Sion of the Kuru race, by Sakra himself, capable of going everywhere at will. The celestial assembly house is full 150 yojanas in length, and 100 yojanas in breadth, and 5 yojanas in height, dispelling weakness of age, grief, fatigue, and fear, auspicious and bestowing good fortune, furnished with rooms and seats, and adorned with celestial trees. It is delightful in the extreme. There sitteth in that assembly room, on an excellent seat, the Lord of Celestials, with his wife Sakhi, endowed with beauty and affluence, assuming a form incapable of description for its vagueness, with a crown on his head and bright bracelets on the upper arms, attired in robes of pure white and decked with floral wreaths of many hues. There he sitteth with beauty, fame, and glory by his side, and the illustrious deity of 100 sacrifices in daily waited upon, in that assembly by the Marutas in a body, each leading the life of a householder in the bosom of his family, and the Siddhiyas, celestial rishis, the Sadhiyas in all, the gods and Marutas of a brilliant complexion and adorned with golden garlands, are of them in celestial form and decked in ornaments, always wait upon and worship the lustrous chief of the immortals, that might oppressor of all foes. The celestial rish, all of poor souls, with sins completely washed off and resplendent as the fire, and possessed of energy, and without sorrow of any kind, and freed from the fever of anxiety, and all performers of the Soma sacrifice, wait upon and worship Indra, in Parasara, in Parvata, in Savarni, and Galava, and Sankhiha, and the Muni Gaur Siras, and Durvasa, and Krodihana, and Sivena, and the Muni Dihirgihatamas, and Pavitrapani, Savarni, Yajina Valkia, and Bihaluki, and Udialaka, Sivetaketu, and Tandia, and Bihandayani, and Havismat, and Garista, and King Harishandra, and Hidriya, Udars Handilia, Parasaria, Krishivala, Vatas Kandiha, Visakiha, Vidihatas, and Kala, Karaladanta, Tastri, and Visvakarman, and Tumuru, and other rishis, some born of woman, and other living upon air, and others again living upon fire. These are worship Indra, the wielder of the thunderbolt, the lord of all the worlds, and Sahadeva, and Sunitiha, and Valmiki, of great ascetic merit, and Samika, of truthful speech, and Prakhetas, ever fulfilling their promises, and Medihatihi, and Vamadeva, and Pulastia, Pulaha, and Kratu, and Maruta, and Marikhi, and Sitihanu, of great ascetic merit, and Kakishivat, and Gautama, and Tarkihiya, and the Muni Vaisvanara, and the Muni Kalaka Virikihiya, and Azraviya, and Hiranmaya, and Samvarta, and Dehaviya, and Visvaksena, of great energy, and Kamva, and Katyayana, and Gargiya, and Kaushika, are present there along with the celestial waters and plants and faith and intelligence and the godliness of learning and wealth, religion and pleasure and lightning, and the rain-charged clouds, and the winds, and all the loud-sounding forces of heaven, the eastern point, the 27 fires conveying the sacrificial butter, Agni, and Soma, and the fire of Indra, and Mitra, and Savitri, and Aryaman, Bihaga, Visvas, the Sadhiyas, the Preceptor, and Sukra, and Visvavasu, and Khitrasena, and Sumanas, and Taruna, the sacrifice, the gifts to Brahmanas, the planets, and the stars, and the mantras that are uttered in sacrifice. All these are present there. Many apsaras and gandharvas by various kinds of dances and music, both instrumental and vocal, and by the praxis of auspicious rites, and by the exhibition of many feats of skill, gratify the Lord of the Celestials, Satakratu, the illustrious slayer of Vala and Viritra. Besides these, many other Brahmanas and royal and celestial rishis, all resplendent as the fire, decked in floral wreaths and ornaments, frequently come to and leave that assembly, riding on celestial cars of various kinds. And Virihaspati and Sukra are present there on all occasions. These and many other illustrious ascetics of rigid vows, and Bhirigu, and the 7 rishis, who are equal unto Brahma himself, come to and live in that assembly house, riding on cars beautiful as the car of Soma, and themselves looking as bright and daring as Soma himself. This might-armed monarch is the assembly house called Puskara Malini of Indra of 100 sacrifices that I have seen. Listen now to the account of Yama assembly house. Narada said, Yudhishthira, I shall now describe the assembly house of Yama, the son of Vivasvat, which was built by Visvakarma. Listen now to me, bright as burnished gold, that assembly house, covers an area of much more than 100 yojanas, possessed of the splendor of the sun. It yieldeth everything that one may desire, neither very cool nor very hot. It delighteth the heart. In that assembly house there is neither grief nor weakness of age, neither hunger nor thirst. Nothing disagreeably findeth a place there, nor any kind of evil feelings there. Every object of desire, celestial or human, is to be found in that mansion, and all kinds of enjoyable articles, as also of sweet, juice, agreeably, and delicious edibles in profusion that are licked, sucked, and drunk, are there. Chastiser of our enemies. The floral realms in that mansion are of the most delicious fragrance, and the trees that stand around it yield fruits that are desired of them. There are both cold and hot waters, and these are sweet and agreeably. In that mansion men royal says of great sanctity, and Brahmana says of great purity, shall full wait upon, and worship Yama, the son of Vivasvat, and Yayati, Nahusha, Puru, Mandihatri, Somaka, Niriga, the royal sage Trasa Dasiu, Kritaviriya, Sautas Ravas, Aristanemi, Siddha, Krita Vega, Kriti, Nimi, Pratardana, Sivi, Matisiya, Pritihu Lakisha, Virihadratiha, Varta, Maruta, Kusika, Sankasiya, Sankriti, Dihuva, Haturasva, Sadasvormi, and King Kartaviriya, Biharata, and Suhatiha, Sunitiha, Nisatiha, Nala, Divodasa, Sumanas, Amvarisha, Bihagihatiha, Vyasva, Vadihasva, Pritihuvega, Pritihus Ravas, Prishadasva, Vasumanas, Kisrupa, Sumahavala, Vrishadigu, Vrishasena, Purukutsa, Divajin, Hatihin, Arstisena, Divilipa, and the high-souled Ushinara, Ausinari, Pundarika, Sariati, Sarava, Sukhi, Anga, Hista, Vena, Dusmanta, Sirinjaya, and Jaya, Vihangasuri, Sunitiha, and Nishada, and Bahinara, Karandihama, Valhika, Sudimna, and the might Madhu, Aila, and the might king of earth, Maruta, Kapota, Trinaka, and Sihadeva, and Arjuna, Visava, Sasva, and Krish Asva, and King Sasavindu, Hama, the son of Dasahatiha, and Lakismana, and Pratardana, Alarka, and Kakishasena, Gaia, and Gaurazva, Hama, the son of Jamadagniya, Nabihaga, and Sagara, Bihuhiriumna, and Mahasva, Pritihasva, and Janaka, King Vainiya, Varisena, Purujit, and Janamejaya, Brahmadatta, and Trigartha, and King Uparikhara, Indradiumna, Bhimajanu, Gaura Prista, Nala, Gaia, Padma, and Makhukunda, Bihuhiriumna, Prasenajit, Aristanemi, Sudimna, Pritihulausva, and Astaka, 100 kings of the Matsya Haze, and 100 of the Vipa, and 100 of the Haya Haze, 100 kings of the name of the Hiritarashtra, 8 kings of the name of Janamejaya, 100 monarchs called Brahmadatta, and 100 kings of the name of Iri, more than 200 Vihismas, and 100 Vítimas, 100 Prativindihiyas, 100 Nagas, and 100 Palasas, and 100 called Kasa, and Kusa, that king of kings, Santanu, and thy father, Pandu, Usangava, Satahatiha, Devahaja, Jayadratha, the intelligent royal sage Viris Hadarva, with his ministers, and 1,000 other kings know by the name of Sasavindu, and who have died, having performed many grand horse sacrifices with large presents to the Brahmanas. These royal sages of grand achievements and great knowledge of the Shastras wait upon, and worship the son of Vivasvat in that assembly house, and Agastya, and Matanga, and Kala, and Mritiu, performers of sacrifice, the Siddhas, and many yogins, the Pitris, those others that have forms, the well of time, and the illustrious conveyor himself of the sacrificial butter, are sinners among human beings, those that have died during the winter solstice, these officers of Yama, who have been appointed to count the allotted days of everybody and everything. Seeing Sapa, Palasa, Kasa, and Kusa trees and plants in their embodied forms, these all wait upon and worship the God of justice in that assembly house of his. These and many others are present at the Sabha of the king of the Pitris. So numerous are they that I am incapable of describing them either by mentioning their names or deeds. The delightful assembly house, moving everywhere at the will of its owner, is of wide extent. It was built by Vishvakarma after a long course of ascetic penances. Resplendent with his own effulgence, it stands glorified in all its beauty. Sannyasis of severe ascetic penance, of excellent vows, and of truthful speech, peaceful and pure and sanctified by holy deeds, of shining bodies and attired in spotless robes, decked with bracelets and floral garlands, with earrings of burnished gold, and adorned with their own whole acts as with the marks of their order, constantly visit that Sabha. Many illustrious Gandharvas and many Apsaras fill every part of that mansion, with music, both instrumental and vocal, and with sounds of laughter and dance, and excellent perfumes, and sweet sounds, and garlands of celestial flowers, always contribute towards making that mansion supremely blessed. And hundreds of thousands of virtuous persons of excellent beauty and great wisdom always wait upon and worship the illustrious Yama, the Lord of created beings, in that assembly house. Such is the Sabha of the illustrious king of the Pitris. I shall now describe unto the assembly house of Varuna, called Puskara Malini. The celestial Sabha of Varuna is unparalleled in splendor. In dimensions it is similar to that of Yama. Its walls and arches are all of pure white. It hath been built by Vishvakarma. Within the waters, it is surrounded on all sides by many celestial trees made of gems and jewels, and yielding excellent fruits and flowers, and many plants with their weight of blossoms, blue and yellow and black and darkish and white and red, that stand there, or excellent bowers around. Within those bowers, hundreds and thousands of birds of diverse species, beautiful and variegated, always pour forth their melodies. The atmosphere of that mansion is extremely delightful, neither cold nor hot, owned by Varuna. That delightful assembly house of pure white consists of many homes, and is furnished with many seats. There sitteth Varuna, attired in celestial robe, decked in celestial ornaments and jewels, with his queen, adorned with celestial scents, and besmeared with past of celestial fragrance. The Adityas wait upon and worship the illustrious Varuna, that the Lord of the waters, and Vasuki, and Takishaka, and the Naga called Airavana, Krishna, and Lohita, Padma, and Hitra, and wait with great energy. The Nagas called Kamvala and Asvatara, and the Hiritarashtra, and Valahaka, Matimat, and Kundadihara, and Karkotaka, and Dhananjaya, Panimat, and the might Kundaka, and Pralada, and Mushikada, and Janamejaya, all having auspicious marks and mandalas and extended hoods. These and many other snakes, without anxiety of any kind, wait upon and worship the illustrious Varuna. Vali, the son of Virokhana, Naraka, the subjugator of the whole earth, Sangrahada, and Viprakhiti, and those the Navas called Kalakanja, and Suhanu, Durmukhiha, Sankiha, Sumanas, Sumati, Gihatodara, Mahaparsva, Kartihana, Pitihara, Visvahupa, Sivahupa, Vihupa, Mahasiras, Dasagriva, Vali, Meghavasas, Dasavara, Titiva, Vitabhihuta, Sangrahada, Indratapana. These deities and the Navas are bedecked with earrings and floral wreaths and crowns, and attired in the celestial robes, are blessed with boons and possessed of great bravery, and enjoying immortality, and are well of conduct, and of excellent vows, wait upon and worship in that mansion the illustrious Varuna, the deity, bearing the news in his weapon. There are the 4 oceans, the river Bihagihatihi, the Kalindi, the Vidisa, the Venva, the Narmada of rapid current, the Vipassa, Satadu, Chandravihaga, Sarasvati, Iravati, Vitasta, Sindhu, the Devanadi, the Godavari, the Krishna Venva, and that queen of rivers, the Kaveri, the Kimpuna, the Visalia, and the river Vaitarani, the Tritiya, the Gestihila, and the great sun, the Harmanvati, and the great river Parnasa, the Sarayu, the Varavatiya, and that queen of rivers, the Langali, the Karatoya, the Atrei, the head Mahanada, the Lagihanti, the Gomati, the Sandihiya, the Trishotasi, these and other rivers which are all sacred and are world-renowned places of pilgrimage. Other rivers and sacred waters, and lakes, and wells, and springs, and tanks, large or small, in their personified form, wait upon and worship the Lord Varuna, the points of the heaven, the earth, and all the mountains, every species of aquatic animals, all worship Varuna there. In various tribes of Gandharvas and Apsaras devoted to music, both vocal and instrumental, wait upon Varuna, singing elegiac hymns unto him. In all those mountains that are noted for being both delightful and rich in dews, wait in that Sabha, enjoying sweet converse with one another. And the chief minister of Varuna, Sunabha by name, surrounded by his sons and grandsons, attend upon his master, along with of a sacred Vada called Go. These all, in their personified forms, worship the deity. Such is the assembly room of Varuna seen by me before, in the course of my wanderings. Listen now to the account I give of the assembly room of Kuvera. Possessed of great splendor, the assembly house of Vaisravana is 100 yojanas in length and 70 yojanas in breadth. It was built by Vaisravana himself using his ascetic power, possessing the splendor of the peaks of Kailasa, that mansion eclipsed by its own the brilliance of the Muon himself. Supported by Kuryakas, that mansion seems to be attached to the firmament. Of celestial make, it is rendered extremely handsome, with high chambers of gold, extremely delightful, and rendered fragrant with celestial perfumes. It is variegated with numberless costly jewels. Assembling the peaks of a mass of white clouds, it seems to be floating in the air. Painted with colors of celestial gold, it seems to be decked with streaks of lightning. Within that mansion sitteth on an excellent seat, bright as the sun and covered with celestial carpets, and furnished with a handsome footstool. King Vaisravana, of agreeably person, attired in excellent robes, and adorned with costly ornaments and earrings of great brilliance, surrounded by his 1,000 wives. Delicious and cooling breezes, murmuring through forests of tall mandaras, and bearing fragrance of extensive plantations of jasmine, as also of the lotuses on the bosom of the river Alaka, and of the Nandana gardens, always minister to the pleasure of the king of the Yakishas. There the deities with the Gandharvas, surrounded by various tribes of Apsaras, sing in chorus, notes of celestial sweetness. Mizhakesi, and Hambiha, and Khitrasena, and Sukhismita, and Harunetra, and Gritakhi, and Menaka, and Punjikastihala, and Visvakhi, Sahajanya, and Pramlokha, and Urvasi, and Ira, and Varga, and Sauravei, and Samikhi, and Vududa, and Lata. These and 1,000 other Apsaras and Gandharvas, all well skilled in music and dance, attend upon Kuvera, the Lord of Treasuries. And that mansion, always filled with the notes of instrumental and vocal music, with the sounds of dance of various tribes of Gandharvas and Apsaras, have become extremely charming and delicious. The Gandharvas called Kinnaras, and others called Naras, and Manibihadra, and Dihanada, Sivetabihadra, and Gohyaka, Kasehaka, Gandakandu, and the might Pradiota, Kustumburu, Pisakha, Gajakarna, and Visalaka, Varahakarna, Tamhaustiha, Falkakisha, and Falodaka, Hansakhuda, Sikihavarta, Vibhishana, Pushpanana, Pingalaka, Sonitoda, and Pravalaka, Vrikishavaspa, Niketa, and Hihavasas. These and many other Yakishas, by hundreds and thousands, always wait upon Kuvera. The goddess Lakshmi always stayeth there. Also Kuvera's son, Nala Kuvera. Myself and many others like myself often repair thither. Many Brahmana rishis and celestial rishis appear there often. Many Rakshasas and many Gandharvas, besides those that have been named, wait upon and worship in that mansion the illustrious Lord of all treasuries, and the illustrious husband of Uma, and Lord of created things, the three-eyed Mahadeva, the wielder of the trident, and the slayer of the Asura called Bihaganetra, the might god of the fierce bow, surrounded by multitudes of spirits in their hundreds and thousands, some of dwarfish stature, some of fierce visage, some hunchbacked, some of bloodhead eyes, some frightful yells, some feeding upon fat and flesh, and some terribly to behold, but are armed with various weapons, and endowed with the speed of wind, with the gods ever cheerful and knowing no fatigue, always waiteth here upon their friend Kuvera, the Lord of treasuries, and hundreds of Gandharva chiefs, with cheerful hearts, and attired in their respective robes, and Visvavasu, and Haha, and Huhu, and Tumhuru, and Parvarta, and Sailusha, and Hitrasena, skilled in music, and Hitrahatiha. These and innumerable Gandharvas worship the Lord of treasuries, and Hakradihaman, the chief of the Vidyadharas, with his followers, waiteth in that mansion upon the Lord of treasuries, and Kinnaras, by hundreds and innumerable kings with Vihagabhata as their chief, and Druma, the chief of the Kimpurusas, and Mahendra, the chief of the Hakishasas, and Gandhihamadana, accompanied by many Yakishas and Gandhiharvas, and many Hakishasas, wait upon the Lord of treasury. The virtuous Vibhishana worshipeth there his elder brother, the Lord Kuvera. The mountains of Himavat, Paripatra, Vindhiya, Kailasa, Mandara, Malaya, Durdura, Mahendra, Gandhihamadana, Indrakila, Sunava, and eastern and western hills, these and many other mountains in their personified forms, with Meru standing before all, wait upon and worship the illustrious Lord of treasuries, the illustrious Nandisvars, and Mahakala, and many spirits with arrowy ears and sharp-pointed mouths, Kakisha, Kutihimukiha, Dante, Vijaya of great ascetic merit, and the mighty white bull of Siva, roaring deep, all wait in that mansion. Besides these, many other Hakishasas and Pisakhas worship Kuvera in that assembly house. The son of Pulastia, formerly used always to worship in all the modes and sit, with permission, obtained beside the gods of gods. Siva, the creator of the three worlds, that supreme deity, surrounded by his attendants. One day the exalted Bhava made friendship with Kuvera. From that time, Mahadeva always sitteth on the mansion of his friend, the Lord of treasuries, those best of all Jews, those prince of all gems in the three worlds. Sankhiha and Padma, in their personified forms, accompanied by all the Jews of the earth, worship Kuvera. This delightful assembly house of Kuvera that I have seen, attached to the firmament and capable of moving along it, is such. Listen now to the Sabha I describe unto thee, belonging to Brahma, the Grand Sire. Listen to me, as I tell thee of the assembly house of the Grand Sire, that house which none can describe, saying it is such. In the Krita age of old, the exalted deity Aditya came down from heaven into the world of men, having seen before the assembly house of Brahma, the self-created, Aditya was self-full, wandering over the earth in human form, desirous of beholding what could be seen here. It was on that occasion that the god of day spoke unto me, of that celestial Sabha, of the great sire, immeasurably and immaterial and indescribably, as regards form and shape, and capable of delighting the heart of every creature by its splendor. Hearing of the merits of that Sabha, I became desirous of beholding it. I then asked Aditya, saying, exalted on, I desire to behold the sacred Sabha of the Great Sire. Lord of light, tell me, by what ascetic penances, or by what acts, or by what charms, or by what rites I may be enabled to behold that excellent sin-cleansing Sabha. Hearing these words of mine, Aditya, the god of day, the deity of 1,000 rays, answered me thus: observe thou, with mind happed in meditation, the Brahma vow extending for 1,000 years, repairing then to the breast of the Mahabharat. I commenced that great vow, and after I had completed it, the exalted and sinless deity Surya ended with great energy, and knowing no fatigue, took me with him to the Sabha of the Great Sire. It is impossible to describe that Sabha, saying it is such, for within a moment it assumes a different form that language fails to paint. It is impossible to indicate its dimensions or shape. I never saw anything like it before, ever contributing to the happiness of those within it. Its atmosphere is neither cold nor warm. Hunger and thirst, or any kind of uneasiness, disappear as soon as one goeth thither. It seems to be made up of brilliant gems of many kinds. It doth not seem to be supported on columns. It knoweth no deterioration, being eternal. That self-effulgent mansion, by its numerous blazing, celestial indications of unrivaled splendor, seems to surpass the moon, the sun, the fire in splendor. Stationed in heaven, it blazed forth, censuring as it were the maker of the day. In that mansion, the supreme deity, the great sire of all created things, having himself created everything by virtue of his creative illusion, stayeth ever. And Dakisha, Prakhetas, Pulaha, Marikhi, the master Kasyapa, Vihirigu, Atri, and Vasistiha, and Gautama, and Angiras, and Pulastia, Kratu, Pralada, Kardama, these Prajapatis and Angirasa of the Atiharvan Veda, the Valikihiliyas, the Marikhipas, intelligence, space, knowledge, air, heat, water, earth, sound, touch, form, taste, scent, nature, and the modes, and the elemental and prime cause of the world. I stay in that mansion beside the Lord Brahma, and Agastya of great energy, and Markandeya of great ascetic power, and Jamadagni, and Viharadivaja, and Samvarta, and Hyavana, and exalted Durvasa, and the virtuous rich Hyasringa, the illustrious Sanat Kumara of great ascetic merit, and the preceptor in all matters affecting yoga, Asita, and Devala, Jaigizhavia, acquainted with truth, Hidhava, Ajita Satru, and money of great energy, and the science of healing with its 8 branches are in their personified forms. The moon with all the stars and the stellar conjunctions, Aditya with all his rings, the winds, the sacrifice, the declaration of purpose, the vital principles. These illustrious and vow-observing beings in their personified forms, and many others too numerous to mention, attend upon Brahma in that mansion. Wealth and religion and desire and joy and aversion and asceticism and tranquility are weighed together upon the supreme deity in that palace. The 20 tribes of the Gandhirvas and Apsaras, their 7 other tribes, and all the Lokapalas, and Sukra, and Virihaspati, and Vudhiha, and Angaraka, Sani, Hahu, and the other planets, the mantras, the special mantras, Harimat and Vasumat, the Adityas with Indra, the 2 Agnis mentioned by name, the Marutas, Visvakarman, and the Vasus, the Pitris, and all kinds of sacrificial libations, the 4 Vedas, Higi, Sama, Yaju, and Atiharva, all science and branches of learning, histories, and all minor branches of learning, the several branches of the Vedas, the planets, the sacrifice, the Soma, all the deities, Savitri, the 7 kinds of hymn, understanding, patience, memory, wisdom, intelligence, fame, forgiveness, the hymns of the Sama Veda, the science of hymns in general, in various kinds of verses and songs, various commentaries with arguments, or in their personified forms, in various dramas, in poems, in histories, in abridged glosses. These and many others wait upon the supreme deity in that Sabha. Kishanas, lavas, muhurtas, day, night, fortnights, months, the 6 seasons, years, yugas, the 4 kinds of days and nights, in that eternal, indestructibly, undeteriorating, excellent well of time, and the well of virtue. These always wait there. Yudhishthira, and Aditi, Diti, Danu, Surasa, Vignata, Ira, Kalika, Suravi, Devi, Sarama, Gautami, and the goddess Pradha, and Kadiru, these mothers of the celestials, and Hodrani, Sri, Lakshmi, Bihadra, Sihastihi, the earth, Ganga, Hri, Sivaha, Kriti, the goddess Sura, Sakhi, Pusti, Arundhati, Samviriti, Asa, Niyati, Sihisti, Hati. These and many other goddesses wait upon the creator of all, the Adityas, Vasus, Hudras, Marutas, Asvinas, the Visvadevas, Sadhiyas, and the Pitris gifted with the speed of the mind. These are wait there upon the Great Sire. Know thou that there are 7 classes of Pitris, of which 4 classes have embodied forms, and the remaining 3 without embodied forms. It is well known that the illustrious Vairajas and Agnisvatas and Garhapatiyas range in heaven, and those amongst the Pitris that are called the Somapas and the Ekashingras, the Chaturvedas and the Kalas are ever worshipped amongst the 4 orders of men, gratified with the Soma first, disgratify Soma afterwards. All these tribes of Pitris wait upon the Lord of the creation, and cheerful worship the supreme deity of immeasurably energy, in Hakishasas, Pisakhas, the Danavas, and Guhyakas, Nagas, birds, and various animals, and all mobily and immobily great beings, all worship the Grand Sire. in Purandara, the chief of the celestials, in Varuna, in Kuvera, in Yama, and Mahadeva, accompanied by Uma, always hyper-Dider. Mahasena adoreth there the Grand Sire, Narayana himself, in the celestial riches, and those riches called Valakihilias, in all beings born of females, in all those not born of females, in whatever else is seen in the three worlds, both mobile and immobile, were all seen by me there, in 8,000 rishs with vital seed drawn up, and 5,000 rishs having sons, were all seen by me there. And all the dwellers in heaven, preparing thither, behold the supreme deity, when they please, in worshipping him with a bow of their head, return whence they came. The Grand Sire of all created beings, the soul of the universe, the self-created Brahma of immeasurable intelligence and glory, equally kind unto all creatures, honoreth as they deserve, and gratifieth with sweet speech, and gift of wealth, and other enjoyable articles, the gods, the deities, the nagas, the brahmanas, the yakshas, the birds, the kaleyas, the Gandharvas, the Apsaras, and all other exalted beings that came to him as his guests, and that delicious Sabha is always crowded with persons coming and going, filled with every kind of energy, and worshipped by Brahmars his. That celestial Sabha blazes forth with the graceful possessions of Brahma, and looks extremely handsome. This Sabha of yours is unrivaled in the world of men, so is that Sabha of Brahma, seen by me unrivaled in all the worlds. I have seen these Sabhas in regions of the celestials. This thy Sabha is unquestionably the foremost in the world of men. Yudhishthira said, Thou foremost of eloquent men, as thou hast described the different Sabhas unto me, it appeareth that almost all the monarchs of the earth are to be found in the Sabha of Yama. Almost all the Nagas and principal deities and rivers and oceans are to be found in the Sabha of Varuna, and the Yakshas, the Kuryakas, Hakishasas, the Gandharvas and Apsaras, and the deity, having the bull of his vehicle, are to be found in the Sabha of the Lord of Treasuries. Thou hast said that in the Sabha of the Grand Sire are to be seen all the great riches, all the gods, all the branches of learning, as regards the Sabha of Sakra. However, thou hast named all the gods, the Gandharvas, and various riches. Thou hast mentioned on king, the royal rish, Harishchandra, as living in the Sabha of the lustrous chief of the gods. What act was performed by that celebrated king, or what ascetic penances with stead vows, in consequence of which he hath been equal to Indra himself? How didst thou meet with my father, the exalted Pandu, now a guest in the region of the Pitris? Exalted one of excellent vows, hath he told thee anything? Tell me, as I am exceedingly curious to hear all this from thee. Narada said, King of kings, I shall tell thee all that thou askest me about Harishchandra. I shall presently tell thee of his high excellence. He was a powerful king, in fact an emperor over all the kings of the earth. Indeed, all the kings of the earth obeyed his sway. Mounted alone upon a victorious car adorned with gold, that king, by the prowess of his weapons, brought the whole earth with his 7 islands under his sway. Having subjugated the whole earth with her mountains, forests, and woods. He made preparations for the great sacrifice called the Rajasuya, and all the kings of the earth brought at his command wealth unto that sacrifice. All of them consented to become distributors of food and gifts unto the Brahmanas that were fed on the occasion. At that sacrifice, King Harishchandra gave away unto all who asked wealth that was 5 times what each had solicited. At the conclusion of the sacrifice, the king gratified the Brahmanas that came from various countries with large presents of various kinds of wealth. The Brahmanas gratified with various kinds of food and enjoyable articles given away unto them to the extent of their desires, and with the heaps of dues distributed amongst them began to say, King Harishchandra is superior to all kings in energy and renown. And know, it was for this reason that Harishchandra shone more brightly than thousands of other kings. The powerful Harishchandra, having concluded his great sacrifice, became installed in the sovereignty of the earth and looked resplendent on his throne. All those monarchs that performed the sacrifice of Rajasuya passed their time in felicity in Indra company. And those kings that yelled up their leaves without turning their backs on the field of battle attend to the mansion of Indra and live in joy with him. Those again that yelled up their bodies after severe ascetic penances attend to the same region and shine brightly there for ages. King of the Kuruhes, son of Kunti, thy father Pandu, beholding the good fortune of Harishchandra and wondering much, thereat have told thee something. Knowing that I was coming to the world of men, he vowed unto me and said, Thou shouldst tell Yudhishthira that he can subjugate the whole earth inasmuch as his brothers are all obedient to him. And having done this, let him commence the great sacrifice called Rajasuya. He is my son. If he performeth that sacrifice, I may, like Harishchandra, soon attend to the region of Indra, and there in his Sabha pass countless years in continuous joy. I told him in reply, King, I shall tell thy son all this. If I go to the world of men, I have now told thee what he said. Accomplish then the desires of thy father. If thou performest that sacrifice, thou shalt then be able to go along with thy deceased ancestor into the same region that is inhabited by the chief of the immortals. It hath been said that the performance of this great sacrifice is attended with many obstacles. A class of Hakishasas, called Brahma Hakishasas, employed in obstructing our sacrifice, always search for loopholes when this great sacrifice is commenced. On the commencement of such a sacrifice, a war may take place, destroying the Kshatriyas and even furnishing occasion for the destruction of the whole earth. A slight obstacle may involve the whole earth in ruin. Reflecting upon all this, do what is for thy good. Be thou watchful and ready in protecting the 4 orders of thy subjects. Grow thou in prosperity, and enjoy thou felicity. Gratify thou the Brahmanas with gifts of wealth. I have now answered in detail all that thou hast asked me. With thy leave, I will now go to the seat of the Dasarhas. Having said this unto the son of Pritha, Narada went away, accompanied by those rishis with whom he had come. And after Narada had gone away, King Yudhishthira began to think, along with his brothers, of that foremost of sacrifice called Hajasuya. Yudhishthira, having heard these words of Narada, began to sigh heavily. Engaged in his thoughts about the Rajasuya, the king had no peace of mind. Having heard of the glory of the illustrious monarchs, and being certain about the acquisition of regions of felicity by performance of sacrifice in consequence of their sacred deeds, and thinking especially of that royal sage, Harishchandra, who had performed the great sacrifice, King Yudhishthira desired to make preparations for the Rajasuya sacrifice. Then, worshipping his counselors and other present at his Sabha, and worshipped by them in Hetul, he began to discuss with them about that sacrifice. Having reflected much, that King of Kings, that Bull amongst the Kurus, inclined his mind towards making preparations for the Rajasuya. That prince of wonderful energy and prowess, however, reflecting upon virtue and righteousness, again set his heart to find out what would be for the good of all his people. For Yudhishthira, that foremost of all virtuous men, always kind unto his subjects, worked for the good of all without making any distinctions. Indeed, shaking off both anger and arrogance, Yudhishthira always said, "Give unto each what is due to each." And the only sounds that he could hear were, "Blessed be the Dharma, blessed be the Dharma," Yudhishthira. Conducting himself thus and giving paternal assurance to everybody, there was none in the kingdom who entertained any hostile feelings towards him. He, therefore, came to be called Ajatasattu. The king cherished everyone as belonging to his family, and Bhima ruled over all justly. Arjuna, used to employing both his hands with equal skill, protected the people from enemies, and the wise Sahadeva administered justice impartially. And Nakula behaved towards all with humility that was natural to him. Owing to all this, the kingdom became free from disputes and fear of every kind, and all the people became attentive to their respective occupations. The rain became so abundant as to leave no room for desiring more, and the kingdom grew in prosperity, and in consequence of the virtues of the king, money lenders, the articles required for sacrifice, cattle rearing, tillage, and traders, all and everything grew in prosperity. Indeed, during the reign of Yudhishthira, who was ever devoted to truth, there was no extortion, no stringent realization of affairs of hand, no fear of disease, of fire, or of death by poisoning and incantations in the kingdom. It was never heard at that time that chiefs or sheets or royal favorites ever behaved wrongful towards the king or towards one another amongst themselves. Kings conquered on the 6 occasions, were wont to wait upon him in order to do good unto the monarch and worship him ever, while the traders of different classes came to pay him the taxes leviable on their respective occupations. And according during the reign of Yudhishthira, who was ever devoted to virtue, his dominion grew in prosperity. Indeed, the prosperity of the kingdom was increased not by these alone, but even by persons wedded to voluptuousness and indulging in all luxuries to their field. And the king of kings, Yudhishthira, whose sway extended over all, was possessed of every accomplishment and bore everything with patience. Whatever countries the celebrated and illustrious monarch conquered, the people everywhere, from Brahmanas to Swains, were all more attached to him than to their own fathers and mothers. King Yudhishthira, then that foremost of speakers, summoning together his counselors and brothers, asked them repeatedly about the Rajasuya sacrifice. Those ministers in a body, thus asked by the wise Yudhishthira, desirous of performing the sacrifice, then told him these words of grave import. On already in possession of a kingdom, desireth all the attributes of an emperor by means of that sacrifice, which aideth a king in acquiring the attributes of Varuna. Prince of Kuruheis, thy friends think that, as thou art worthy of the attributes of an emperor, the time is even come for thee for the performance of the Rajasuya sacrifice. The time for the performance of that sacrifice, in which rishis of austere vows kindle six fire with mantras of the Samaveda, is come for thee in consequence of thy Kshatriya possessions. At the conclusion of the Rajasuya sacrifice, when the performer is installed in the sovereignty of the empire, he was that with the fruits of our sacrifice, including the Agnihotra. It is for this that he is called the conqueror of all. Thou art quickly able, strong-armed on, to perform the sacrifice. All of us are obedient to thee. Soon will you be able to perform the Rajasuya sacrifice. Therefore, let thy resolution be taken to perform the sacrifice without further discussion. Thus spoke unto the king all his friends and counselors, separately and jointly. Yudhishthira, that slayer of our enemies, having heard these virtues, bowed agreeably and weighed words of theirs, accepted them mentally. And having heard those words of his friends and counselors, and knowing his own strength, the king repeatedly talked over the matter. After this, the intelligent and virtuous Yudhishthira, wise in counsel, again consulted with his brothers, with the illustrious Hitivijas about him, with his ministers, and with the Haumya and the Vaipayana, and others. Yudhishthira said, how men these wish that are entertained of performing the excellent sacrifice of Rajasuya, that is worthy of an emperor, be a fruit in consequence of my faith and speech alone. Thou of eyes like lotus petals, thus asked by the king, they replied at that time unto Yudhishthira the just in these words, being conversant with the dictates of morality. Thou art worthy to perform the grand sacrifice of Rajasuya. After the Hitivijas and the Rishis had told these words unto the king, his ministers and brothers highly approved of the speech. The king, however, possessed of great wisdom, and with mind under complete control, actuated by the desire of doing good unto the world, again resolved the matter in his mind, thinking of his own strength and means, the circumstance of time and place, and his income and expenditure, for he knew that the wise never come to grief owing to their always acting after full deliberation, thinking that the sacrifice should not be commenced, pursuant to his own resolution only. Yudhishthira, careful bearing upon his shoulder the weight of affairs, talked of Krishna, that persecutor of all sinners, as the fittest person to decide the matter, inasmuch as he knew him to be the foremost of all persons, possessed of immeasurably energy, strong-armed, without birth, born amongst men from will alone. Reflecting upon his godlike feats, the son of Pandu concluded that there was nothing that was unknown to him, nothing that he could not achieve, and nothing that he could not bear. And Yudhishthira, the son of Pritha, having come to this settled resolution, soon sent a messenger unto that master of all beings, conveying through him blessings and speeches such as one senior in age might send to one that is younger. And that messenger, riding in a swift car, arriving amongst the Yadavas, and approached Krishna, who was then residing in Devaravati and Akhyuta. Hearing that the son of Pritha had become desirous of seeing him, desired to see his cousin, and quickly passing over many regions, being drawn by his own swift horses, Krishna arrived at Indraprastha, accompanied by Indrasena, and having arrived at Indraprastha, Janardana approached Yudhishthira without loss of time, and Yudhishthira received Krishna with paternal affection, and Bhishma received him likewise, and Janardana then went with a cheerful heart to his father's sister, and worshipped them with reverence by the twins. He began to converse cheerful with his friend Arjuna, who was overjoyed at seeing him, and after he had rested a while in a pleasant apartment and had been full refreshed, Yudhishthira approached him at his leisure and informed him all about the Rajasuya sacrifice. Yudhishthira said, I have wished to perform the Rajasuya sacrifice. That sacrifice, however, cannot be performed by one wishing alone to perform it. Thou knowest everything about the means by which it may be accomplished. He alone can achieve this sacrifice, in whom everything is possible, who is worshipped everywhere, and who is the King of kings. My friends and counselors approaching me have said that I should perform that sacrifice. In respect of that matter, thy words shall be my guide. Of counselors, some from friendship do not notice the difficulties, others from motives of self-interest say only what is agreeable, some again regard that his wish is beneficial to themselves as worthy of adoption. Men are seen to counsel thus on matters awaiting decisions. Art above such motives, thou hast conquered both desire and anger. It behoveth thee to tell me what is most beneficial to the world.